Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got something excited lined up for you, especially if you are a .NET developer looking to take your API game to the next level. But before we dive into this, let me ask you this question. How many of you think that store procedures are a relic of the past? I know, they have got this reputation of being old school or something only used in legacy projects. But here is the thing, they are actually super useful and still incredibly powerful when it comes to building robust applications. So why are we talking about store procedures today? Well, imagine having all your data-related logic neatly packaged, improving performance, security, and maintainability all in one go. With .NET 8, it is easier than ever to use store procedures in your web API to handle CRUD operations like a pro. No more lengthy query strings scattered across your code base, plus using store procedures helps keep your application logic separate from your data access logic, which is a huge win for keeping your code clean and maintainable. So in this course, I'm going to show you how you can perform create, read, update and delete operations using store procedures in a .NET 8 Web API. By the end, you will not only know how to implement them, but also why they are still a relevant choice for modern applications. So whether you are new to .NET or a seasoned developer, stick around because this is going to be a game changer for your next project. Let's get started. Make sure you have a Visual Studio 2022 or higher installed and launched. Let's create project. So now we have our project created. Now in store procedures, we are not using Entity Framework Core. In this case, we cannot implement code first approach. We cannot create our models which will be used to create the database. Okay, so we need to create our database, we need to create our tables, and we need to create our store procedures. Now since we are going to handle all the CRUD, it means I prepared this table store procedures at hand already, so we're going to create that. So make sure you've launched your SSMS, that is a Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, and that is mine. I hope you can see it on the screen. So you to launch yours. Now for the authentication, it works for both SQL Server authentication and also Windows authentication. So I'm going to choose Windows authentication, which requires no password or no credentials. You can also do same or use SQL Server. Let's try server certificate. Now let's click on connect. So once we have our database connected, our server connected, what we're going to do here is we're going to create our database. Then after that, we're going to create our table. So for the database, right click on this databases folder and click on new database. That's quite simple steps to do it. Very, very easy. Let's give it a name, and that's going to be CRUD. So CRUD DB, and that is the database name. Okay, sounds well. Let's say this is products. I think I do have product DB here already, but well, I want to maintain this product DB. Then click on OK to get this database created. Okay, so it already exists. So let's add the CRUD. So CRUD product DB, give it a unique name. So now that we have this database created, where can we find it? If you click on this node, you can see we have it, CRUD database. Where is it? Yeah, DB, that is this one. So here, let's click on. We want to make sure we choose the database. So we want to make sure we have this database selected. Okay, so we can create our table in it. Now to create our table, we want to run new query to handle that. Although you can right click on this, then you go to tables and click on new tables and fill up the models. We can also use SQL command to create that. So I prefer we do that to skip wasting time. So click on this new query. Now when this pops up, you are not done. You make sure you select the database that we just created. And in this case, I have mine selected automatically. Now we're going to create table. Now this table, we're going to name it as product. Now this product table is going to have only 3 properties. For now, for demo purpose, I am having 3 properties. Give it as a primary key for the ID, which is an integer automatically. And we are seeding it by 1. So we seed it, so the incrementing here is 1. Now we have a name, which is the test. We have price, which is decimal. Okay, so we have our project database selected. Let's click on execute to get this table created. So when you open this table, you must find this product table in there, and that is this. Now let's go and create our store procedure. So let's grab this. Maybe I want to, let's grab this. We need to create an insert product or maybe add product. Now with the store procedure, there are simple steps to follow to create it. So you can see from here that we have create procedure, and I give it the name in here. Aside from that, we have the parameters that we're going to be using. So these are parameters and or the variables that we're going to be using. And here we have as then begin and end. In between, that is where your logic or your query comes in. So you can see we are inserting to product table that we just created. These are the columns that you want to insert. We did not add the ID because this is going to have a default of auto seeding. So we don't need to provide an ID or a value for that. Then you provide the values, which is the name correspond. These are the variables that is coming in here. So when we call this store procedure, we must provide these 2 parameters. Good. So we can just execute this. So as we are done, let's also create a next procedure. Now this procedure is going to get our product. So we have it. Now create procedure, get product as begin and an end. So select star from product. It means we want to get everything. Let's execute this, get it created. Now let's go to an update. So I want to update this. The next one here. Okay, so maybe let me give it title. Then the next one, we have this as update. So updates, we take in the ID, the name, and the price as variables or parameters. Then we want to update this. So this is a query that you want to run. Update this column, name and price. So set the name to name and the price to price, where ID is equal to the ID that we're going to pass on. Now let's execute this. We have this also created. Now we have delete left. So we have delete. And that is, we need only the ID in this. So delete from product where ID is equal to that. Then we also execute this command. So if you want to read single, maybe you can also create a procedure to read that. So you can update, or you can copy this. This is read single. This is read all. So you can have it as read single. Then in here, so create procedure, that is get, instead of get product, we get product, where we need a parameter of ID, which is going to be an integer. So let's also specify as a parameter. Now that we have this parameter specified, we're going to have as begin. So select star from product. Then we're going to say that where, and we're talking about this ID. ID is equal to this ID coming in. So we're going to have access to this ID. And that is all. Okay, so that's for read single. we can also copy this, highlight that, and execute it and have it. Now maybe if you're asking yourself, after creating these store procedures, where am I going to see them? Well, that's quite simple. Go to a folder in your project, in your database known as programmability. Have you found yours? Open that and I'll go to store procedures. So you can see that we are having all the procedures here. Let's refresh. Store procedures, and you can see we have all the CRUD procedures here. Great. So now that we have this, we can minimize, but we need a database name and a procedures name. So don't close it at all, just minimize it. Okay, let's go and create our model. Now our model is comprised of 3 properties: ID, name, and price. So let's create that. Okay, so we have our product model created. Now the next thing that we need to do here is we're going to install the package. That is what we're going to be using, and here we need a package known as Microsoft.data.sql client. This package is going to help us to call our store procedures and I'll return the values as well. So let's right click on dependencies, then manage NuGet packages. Then in here, go to the browse tab and let's search for Microsoft.data.sql client, and this is what I'm talking about. So install this package. So once we have this package installed, we don't need to create any DB context because we are not using an EF core, so there's no need for us to create DB context and a register and perform migration. No, we're not doing that here. Let's go and create our connection. We do that in the app.setting.json. And in here, let's say that here we have our connection strings. So that is our connection string that we need. We specify our server, we know a database table, and also we know we trust this connection since we are using Windows authentication. We trust this, and also we trust the server certificate in order for us to have access after it has opened it. Okay, so once we have this connection, we are good. We can go and create our repository, which is going to be a product repository. So let's do that, which is going to be, for now we can create an interface then. So maybe let's add an item, which will be interface. We say this is iProduct. Now this iProduct, we're going to have, let's say it's a task, and this task, it is insert product. It takes in product, then the next one, we have insert. We need to have get list of product, so we have an update. Then we're going to have task, that's enumerable of product, and here we say get products. Aside from that, we need to have delete product, which takes in only an ID, and we have last one, that is get product by ID, which takes in an ID as well. So that is our CRUD interfaces. Let's go and implement this. So we can create public class, and this is products repository, which inherit from the interface. Let's implement the interfaces, and in here let's inject our configuration, and we can get our connection string. Now we're saying this is config dot get connection strings. Then what is a connection string? That is default. We get a connection string and store it here. Okay, now let's go and implement the method. So for delete, we have an ID already. So all that we need to do here is we need to create this connection. We have our connection string also specified. So we're going to have it as using. We're using keyword here. So as soon as it is done, it can close the connection for us. Now we want to call SQL connection, which is coming from the package that we installed. We pass in our connection string that we have. We have our connection open. Now, in order for us to know, for the database to know that while we want to execute stop procedure, we need to specify that as well. So we call this command, and I will say this type here, it is stop procedure. Aside from that, we specify this is a stop procedure name that we created. If you do not remember, check it out. Delete product, this is a stop procedure. So you have to make sure it is the same. And here it takes in a parameter of ID, so which is an integer. So you need to also pass in this ID. How do we do it? It's quite simple. The command that we have, we can pass in as what? Add with value. So that is a parameter, add with value. So you can see there is going to be a list of parameters, and here we have only one. So that is the value here. The key here is an ID, and that is a value. Aside from that, we need to open the connection and execute this. Now, when we execute this, we can close this explicitly, but well, we want to make this do this for us. You know, using is there. So as soon as it's done with the execution, it's going to close it. So we don't need to close it explicitly. Yes. Now we have an await issue because this is to be an async. And that is all. So with this method, we can delete, can call our stop procedure and pass in the parameter that we need. Let's go to the next one, that is get product by ID. So as usual, let's open connection and specify that, hey, this is a stop procedure. So we need to do that. We open connection and specify that this is stop procedure. After that, we're going to call our stop procedure, that is get product. Do you remember? That is get product. Where is it? Get product. It takes an ID, so we know that, and we need to specify the ID over there. So let's do it. So we can go to where we have this command and grab this. Since we have the same command here, we're gonna say that command dot add parameter, or add with value. Then we have an ID. Since we need this ID, we pass the same ID here. Now let's open connection. After opening this connection, what else can we do again? We need to execute this. So with execution, we need to return a reader because it's going to return, you know, the method here is select. So it's going to return a product. So we need to store that. And we have using. So we're going to use this reader. As soon as it is done, it's also going to close it. Execute this reader, which is going to return SQL data reader. Now within this, we need to read async. So we're going to read everything, which returns at least 3 properties, right? A record of 3 properties: ID, name, and price. So the next thing we're going to do here is we need to open the connection and start reading. So we're going to be using, so while I wait, this reader dot read async. You want to get a product. So here we want to say that product is equal to new product. Okay, and in here we having an ID. Now this ID is equal to reader dot get integer. So here you can see get integer here, the first record or the first value, it is an integer. So you want to convert it to integer, and we want to grab this is an index base, so ID is going to be 0, right? So with this 0, you don't need to pass in as a string. It should be just 0 since you are dealing with an index. So 0. Then the next thing is name. So name here, index base is going to be 1, right? So we have get string, that is 1 string. The next one is decimal. So we have price. We need to close this. So price is equal to, then we have reader dot, that is get decimal, and passing 2. That's the index base. Great. So once we have this, I think we can remove this. So while this is done, we want to go in and return this product. So here we cannot do this, we cannot return this product here because we're creating an instance, and unless maybe we assign it. So maybe this is what we can do. We can just create another product here, which is equal to new product. Well, after we are done, we can assign it. Or we can say that this product is equal to new. Okay, equal to new. Then we add this. After that, we want to return product. You know, there are several ways of handling this. There is one way. I know you have another ways to do this. All right. So great. Now we have this. So we have this get by ID, and that is it. Let's see the next one. That is get product. Get product. So here that's going to be an enumerable of products. So we need to do same. Let's see how we're going to do that. Let's remove this first. Let's first create a list of products. That is where we're going to gather and gather our populator and our return. Let's open connection, execute, and specify that, hey, this is going to be an store procedure. So we get product, that is a procedure name. Let's specify a connection string. We open connection. Now, after opening connection, let's execute our command. So open and execute command. Okay. Now, after we execute, we need to read. So we're going to be using while reading. And now, since we have more than one, we need to create an instance of product and add it to this list. So this is what we can do. We're saying while we have await reader.read async as we did earlier on. You see here we are adding a new one and now grabbing the property that we have in there. After that, we can return this product. Okay, let's see the next one. That is, you have two left: insert product and update product. So we are still following the same process. We need to open connection and pass in the connection string. After that, we specify this type as command type as store procedure. As usual, this should be an async, so we do that. The next thing we're going to do here is we need to add our parameters. So we have 3 parameters. We need to specify the ID, the name, and the price, isn't it? So we add the parameters first before we open connection. So this should come from product.id, then product.name, and finally we have the price. After we have populated the parameters with their respective values or keys, let's open connection and execute the query. So we open and execute, and that is all. Using is going to close it, so don't worry about the close. It will be done automatically for you. Now let's see the last one. That is an update. Update. It is the same as, you see what we did? There is an update, right? So we are doing this. Oh, so let's move it. I believe you did the right thing. So this should be an async. Then you've done the update already. So let's see the insert. It's quite similar to the update. So let's go and open connection. And in the connection, we specify our store procedure name, as you know. We specify the type, as usual. We need to add. Now, in adding, we don't need to provide parameter for the ID. We need to specify only the name and the price. So that is exactly what we're doing here. So .name, then we have the price. Okay, so after we have this parameter, we need to open and execute it. Maybe you're asking the reason why we are not opening before adding the parameters. Well, we don't want to, when you open your connection, it's quite serious. And in this case, if you don't take care and it becomes open, somebody can just get into it. So you have to open your connection, you execute the thing fast, and off you close it, so that you don't get any intruder into your database. Now we need to populate everything before we open our connection. So when we open our connection, we know what you're doing. As soon as you're done doing it, we close it fast. And that is a way to improve the security of it. Okay. Now you can see that's what we are doing for all. So I think, yes, you open and execute. You add first before you open. You execute it and off. After reading, it should close itself. Great. So we have this implemented. The next thing that we need to do here is we need to register this in the settings. So let's pick the interface. Let's go to our solution. In our program, let's do this magic. Okay, so this should be our scope. We forgot it. So our scope. Now let's go to controllers and create our controller. So add new controller, which is going to be an API empty one. Yes, of course, empty. Let's give it a name, product controller. Now in that, we need to inject our product interface, right? So we need to say that here we have our iProduct, which is coming from iProduct. Then we say this is product interface or repository, any. Okay, so let's say product repo. Now this repo that we have in here, I think we don't need to make it long. That's a repository, well, or interface, whatever that you want to give it. Now here we want to have the post, and this post is going to be the create. So after we get created, we want to get by ID. We're going to get it soon, don't worry. Now here it needs a model of product, so we need to pass in this product. The next thing that we're going to do here is get all. So for get all, we call this, and that is it. Get by ID, we need to specify the ID, which is coming as parameter, and here we're saying it is an ID, and we want to stretch it should be integer only. So get by ID, which takes in this ID, and in here we need to call this product and pass in this ID. Okay, are we doing the right thing? So get product by ID, passing this ID. The next thing that we're going to do here is we have our, okay, let me clarify this. Maybe you want to say, all right, since I have get our product, then I can call this get product and get this, extract the ID from it. But let's say you have about hundreds of millions of records, and you want to get only one, so you want to call all this. That's That's bad, right? So don't do that. Don't do that. Although you can do it, but don't do that. It doesn't improve the performance of your system, and to make it fast as well. So make sure you create the stop procedure which returns this. Make it fast and look up. Okay, this shouldn't be an enumerable. It should be this. Okay. Now you can return, you're not returning an okay because you return just a task, and you're not returning action result. Let's maintain this. Or we can return an action result. So with action result, well, let's do the right thing. Okay, so we say action result, which takes in enumerable, and this should be okay. Then we have this here created, which is an action result already. So here we are using this generic, and here we are using an explicit one. Okay, so get by ID, we got it. The next thing that we're going to talk about here, it is update. So for the update, maybe you would like to add taking a parameter over there, but what I can also decide to clear that. This is coming from the body. We all know that. Then we don't need this. We need to provide this model to this endpoint, and that is all. We return no contents after it has been updated. And the last one, we have delete, which takes an ID, and in that we call the delete product and pass in this ID. Return no content after it is done. All right. So in the simple steps, we've able to cover or created our CRUD operation using the stop procedure, and we've configured that, we've called that, and now let's see whether this is going to work. But as usual, before we can run this, I want us to save everything and build this project. Make sure everything is intact before running this up. So once this is ready, let's go and give it a try. Alright, so it is ready. Let's go and add product. So we want to maintain the ID is going to be set automatically. So let's say this is product 1. Let's give it a price. This is 100. Now let's execute this and check it out. Yeah, so we have it, right? Now let's add another one. That is 2. This is 1000. Click on execute. We can add 3. This is 10,000. Add it. Now let's go and get our product and check it out. So you can see we have everything here, isn't it? Let's go and get by. Let's update the first one, which is ID 1. So we're going to say product 1 updated. Now let's set the price to 50 instead of 100. Now let's execute this, and now we have 204. Let's go and get by ID. I want to get only product 1 and see whether it has been updated successfully, and of course we got it. Let's see right here. Now let's see for delete. You want to delete the same product, that is 1. Execute this, and we have it. Let's go and get all. Execute this, and we don't have product ID 1 inclusive. And that is a wrap. So I hope this course helps you see how powerful and efficient stop procedures can be for CRUD operations, and how easy it is to implement it in .NET 8 Web API. So whether you are looking to optimize performance, boosting security, or keep your code base clean, stop procedures are definitely worth considering. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more awesome content. Happy coding, and I'll see you in the next video.